Okay, here we go for part 3. Before we get too far into it, make sure you've got this example, the inheritance example. Whatever inheritance is, this is what we're talking about in this part. Um, so I've got it up there. Remember, you need to attach your HTML to that new, the different code. So inheritance example.js, delete all this stuff. And I hope that I have them in the right spot. File, save as. Save there. Make sure I got it. Yeah, I had it in the right spot. And then I'm going to save that. And then we'll use that soon. But first, I want to talk about um, inheritance. And inheritance follows what in Code Academy they call the dry concept. Don't repeat yourself. And this is an important thing in computer science in general, is if you can use code that you've already written and make slight changes to it, then you go ahead and do that, because the code that you had before, probably you've already tested, it already works, and it makes sense to you and the other people that are using your code. So don't repeat yourself. So when we want to build upon a class code that we've already written, we can use the idea of an inheritance. And it says a child class inherits all properties and functions of a parent class. We think of the child as being more specific than the parent. Here's how we set up the inheritance. Before I show you the syntax, I just want to mention this is in the Code Academy. They use animal as the parent class and then penguin as the child class. So penguin inherits everything from animal. Everything that is true about being an animal is true about being a penguin, but then we can make alterations to the penguin code to make it more specific for our use with talking about penguins instead of animals in general. And we'll see this as a very, very common thing in computer science, and one of the key concepts behind object-oriented programming. So here's the syntax. The syntax is child class dot prototype equals new parent class. So the idea is we're making a new class. So this is a new class of object dot prototype, and that dot prototype means any child class is going to have all of the new characteristics of the parent class, whatever that happens to be. So in the Code Academy, this was penguin, this was animal. Okay. In our example, we've got a vehicle class. I see, and then there's 4 parameters. When we make a vehicle, we have to give it 4 different things. There's a car class, which has got only one little parameter and two key value pairs, type and driver. But this line here, car.prototype new vehicle, means that car is a child of vehicle, which makes sense because it's more specific. Car is more specific, and it's that line that makes it so all of these things are characteristics of not only a vehicle but also the child class car. Okay, so, and what are we doing in the code? We're going to make a car and then print it out, and we're going to make a vehicle and print it out, and then call on the moving method. Okay, so let me run it, and then we'll talk about it. So remember, in your JavaScript, you've changed the initial code. I'm gonna launch that, run in Chrome. I could have refreshed it, I'm pretty sure. And then suddenly I got a pop-up. Please tell me the name of the driver. I'll say rest all, just so it's not FERD all the time. So F12 and see what happened. So there's a bunch of stuff there. Car, vehicle, I am a Ford car that uses its undefined to undefined. I am a plane that uses its engine to fly. Obviously, that's in the code somewhere. Let's see if we can sort this out. So there's the JavaScript. And this is in the note. Let's go to the note. I'm going to go back to the note. Because then I'll know what things I want to talk about. Okay, so it says, how fraud has all properties of a vehicle. So because I've attached, like, this fraud is a car, but since a car is a vehicle, it's got all of those properties as well. So if I were to console.log fraud, which I did, did I console log? Oh, it just told me what that is. So there's all the stuff. The prototype is vehicle. There's the two key value pairs, and then the prototype was vehicle. So it does have all those things. If I were to actually console log, I'm going to close that one. If I were to console log things like the fraud dot say move. Notice that in our car class, there's no move. There's no move. But if I were to run this, it's actually going to tell me that it's undefined. There's where I printed out the move. So it has a value, but because we didn't set that value of move, it printed out undefined. So it has a key called move, but it wasn't set. So it printed out undefined. So this fraud, even though it was a car, not a vehicle, it has all of these key values because they were inherited from vehicle. Okay, that was the first point in the note. That was this point in the note. Explain why or where the prompt comes from. So every time we run this code, a prompt comes up. Well, why or where? What line actually causes that prompt to come up? Well, it's when a car is created. Notice, does this create a car object? No. Does this create a car object? No. This is just adding to the class. Where is the car object made? It's right here. So when we make a new car, it runs this code and the prototype as well, runs this, and then this is where the prompt comes from, right here. So on this line, if I were to comment this out, comment that line out, I wouldn't get the prompt. And just you watch that that's true. Bam. Fraud is not defined. I got an error message because back in my code, I'm trying to console.log out fraud.move, but there is no such thing as fraud. So I'm going to comment that part out and run it again, and you'll see that fraud is not. Where did I print it out a second time? Where did I print it out a second time? Down here. See, fraud doesn't exist. And if I were to run it, then it's going to work okay. Just the plain one, okay? No prompt was the big idea there. No prompt. Okay, great. Let's keep going. Not all properties get set. So remember when I printed out, I'm going to go back. When I printed out fraud.move, remember? I printed out fraud.move right there. I'm actually going to uncomment that out so we can actually make the car object. It said undefined. It said undefined because in our constructor, our car constructor, even though all of the keys of a vehicle were attached, it wasn't set in here. It wasn't set in here. So I could set it then fraud.move equals drive, and then console.log that again, and it'll work. And this may or may not be the way I want to handle this. There's one of the frustrating things about object-oriented programming. There are so many things to handle, there's so many ways to handle the same thing. There. So it was undefined. I set it, and then now it's called drive, and then that's all good. And in fact, now if I uncomment that line at the end, this line here will start making a little more sense. So when I run this again, since I set the moving, that sentence will start. I am a Ford car that uses its drive to undefine. Well, I should have said engine there, to drive, but you get the idea. Why does it still say undefined there? Well, let's look in the moving function in the vehicle class. It says I am of this type that uses its move, which should have said engine, to this dot verb. Well, I never set the verb for the car, so that's why it was still undefined. I'm going to change that to engine and fraud.move, or sorry, fraud.verb equals race, because Ford races. Let's say. Go here, run that. Now it'll make lots of sense. Now that I've actually set all the key values for the car, it'll make sense. I am a Ford car that uses its engine to race. I am a plane that uses its engine to fly. Now those things make sense because all of the attributes have been set. Okay, back to the note. Setting attributes using prototype. So if I wanted to, I could, and we talked about this in an earlier lesson, I could do something silly like, and this might not be silly because cars generally, prototype.move equals engine, right? Because cars generally have engines. And car.prototype.verb equals drive. That will set those two things. Now I don't have to have these lines here. Notice that for those two lines there, they'll actually reset those earlier values. So if I comment that out, in the prototype it's set, so not only is the fraud object got those two values, the move value and the verb value, but all of the cars will have that value. So if I run this, that'll work. Right? Now if I make a new car, I'm going to make a new car down here. Var, let's say lemon equals a new car, and it's a Chevy. Chevy's 11, lemon. Because remember, when I made my car, I had to have what type of car it was in. And then this gets run, but all of the other things get attached with the prototype. Console.log lemon.moving. Let's see what that says. Even though we haven't specifically set lemon verb to be race or lemon move to be engine, what we did is we reset all of the prototypes for the car to have those values up in those lines right there. So if I were to run this now, you'll see that that works too. Rest all. That was for the fraud one, so it's probably going to give me another one. And let's say that Johnstone is driving the lemon. Don't tell him I said that. I'm a Chevy car that uses its engine to drive. Okay? So is that it? Might be it. Oh, adding methods using prototype. So if I wanted to add a method using prototype, we did that earlier, but I'll remind you of what that looks like. So for instance, say I wanted to add a new method to one of the the classes that we have. I'm going to comment out about a bunch of this stuff so I can sort of make the point that I want to make. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so let's say I wanted to add to vehicle. Vehicle.prototype. Prototype. Dot, let's say it's a function called who. Equals function. And then I'm not going to have any parameters. And this is just a goofy, remember, these functions, these methods can do anything you like. Usually, for our sakes, we're just going to have like a little tiny message or maybe a calculation. I think there's some in the homework where you get a calculation. This would create a new function called who, and I'm going to have it log there are this dot, what was it, passengers? What was the vehicle? Yeah, passengers. There are this dot passengers on the, and this dot type, right? Yeah, on the plus this dot type. So that's a little message that's going to say about who's on the vehicle. So now if I go console, actually no, what I'm gonna do, because I've attached this function and I made a plane, right? So I'm gonna have plane dot who, which is a method. It wasn't attached up here, right? It wasn't attached in the class definition. It was attached later using the prototype thing. And we saw this earlier, but let's see if that works. Reference fraud is not defined. Okay, I commented out a bunch of stuff, and up right there, I commented out fraud, and then I was trying to print them out here. So let's fix up that error. Buggy, buggy, buggy. Refresh. Name of the driver. There are true on the plane. That's funny. There are true on. Oh, I get it. I remember. I thought when I was using this that passengers in was a number. But when I made plane, it was actually just a Boolean, whether it was true or false. Like, for instance, if it was the vehicle was a horse, passengers would be false. On a plane, yeah, it's true. Okay, so I thought there was going to be a number there, but you get the idea. Instead, let's fix it up just so this makes sense. If this dot passengers, so this would be true. If that is true, then I'm going to say there are passengers on the whatever. Else, we'd say console log no passengers. Show you how that works now. That should work fine now. Should make more sense. There are passengers on the plane. But if I were to go back and switch it to false when I made the plane, say it was like a one, just a pilot, have that false, and save that, then what is it going to say? It's going to print out no passengers because there were no passengers. This is still running because I must be making a car somewhere. There's the no passengers. Where am I making that car still? See, whenever I make a car, it runs that, right there. That's right. I'm making the lemon. So Restall was driving that lemon. That's why that the prompt was coming up all the time. I thought I had commented that out. Okay, lots and lots of stuff today. You're going to get a chance over the next couple of days to practice some of these things, folks, okay? And make sure you ask lots of questions. This is very, very good computer science you're into. And I think though that's it. I hope. There might be, is there another line over here? Oh, there's more stuff. I'll come back in part four and talk about this.